An explosion at the site of a train derailment in southwest Jefferson County this afternoon. 5 workers are injured, sending 3 to University Hospital. Hundreds of people evacuated from the area and hundreds more told to stay in their homes. Good evening. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm David Scott.
And I'm Jennifer Bayless, coming to you live roughly 5 miles away from that train derailment turned explosion this afternoon. This is the PRP Fire Department, the new command center. We were moved here pretty quickly this afternoon after that explosion as a precaution, and as they moved the evacuation and shelter-in-place order. WDRB Stefan Johnson was on the scene here this afternoon. You actually came down for a scheduled news conference to a surprise.
Right, absolutely. Just as we got here, things were business as usual until one of the contractors, using a blowtorch, ignited a fire, and that caused the explosion.
You know, we don't have enough information yet to understand what they were doing to have ignited the fire.
The helicopter was immediately brought in to transport the most serious victim, and then several ambulances followed. Altogether, 5 people, as we've been reporting, were injured, but 2 of them refused treatment. 3 were taken to University Hospital. Meanwhile, the big question here has been why they were even using a torch near such a dangerous flammable chemical like butadiene.
It was our understanding from the contractor their intent was to separate the empty butadiene car from the full butadiene car, yes.
And emergency crews say this is still a very dangerous situation at the scene, mainly because the fire is still burning. It's under control, but it's still burning, and because there are chemicals on the other cars, Jennifer. So it's still a very dangerous situation for them working at the scene.
And changing, and we're hearing that there is a scheduled news conference at around 8 o'clock
right at 8 o'clock.
This afternoon, or tonight. We did receive this afternoon a statement from P&L Railroad. They own the cars that were involved in this derailment and explosion. They issued a statement saying that 3 people were injured when a flash fire occurred during recovery operations, and they're also saying in part that their thoughts and prayers go out to those people who were critically injured. Thoughts and prayers to them and their families. We do want to head back to the studio and check in now with Mark Weinberg. Mark, I've noticed the wind kind of picking up from time to time, obviously changing the situation out here.
Well, Jennifer, that will become critical if there's any chemical cloud and which way it would blow. I want to talk about the warnings that are in place here and explain a little bit to you what they mean. First off, southern part of Jefferson, western part of Bullitt, northern part of Hardin County, under the shelter-in-place warning. And many people have asked what a shelter-in-place warning actually means. Basically, close your windows, you want to close your doors, and you want to turn off any system that pulls air in from the outside. So that would include your HVAC unit. Now, there's 2 different warnings in place. The shelter-in-place rather, is the wide circle you see on your screen. The smaller circle is the mandatory evacuation zone. Now, this extends 1.2 miles from the area where the fire occurred. Now, if you're going east, that would be where 44 intersects with Ritchie Lane. If you're going south, that's West Point, and if you're going northeast on Dixie Highway, it's just about a mile from the location. One thing you will notice, none of our southern Indiana counties included in this, and the reason is because of the wind direction. Notice the winds are generally blowing from 5 to around 15 miles an hour towards the east. Now what this means is if, again, the key word is if there was any chemical cloud here or any hazardous cloud, it would be pushed off towards the east along the Jefferson and Bullitt County line. Now, if you're not in this area, you're probably wondering what to expect during your Halloween trick-or-treating. Well, notice our temperatures here. By around 8 p.m. we're at 45, and by 10 p.m. are at 42 degrees. You have just about another 10 minutes until the sun fully sets. So outside of our areas of concern, go on about your trick-or-treating. If you're inside the shelter-in-place or the mandatory evacuation area, Jennifer, obviously you're going to need to stay inside.
Good information. Thanks, Mark. We do want to remind you 5 people in total were injured in this explosion, 3 critically. We want to check in with Kelly Davis at University Hospital in Louisville to find out the latest conditions of those injured.
Jennifer, here at University Hospital, 3 workers that were involved in that accident are seeking treatment for their injuries. We're told 2 are in critical condition tonight, another in serious condition. They all suffered severe burns. We're told 1 has burns on up to 90% of the body. Now, just before 2 p.m. this afternoon, we saw a helicopter touch down here carrying 1 of the workers. The other 2 were taken by ambulance. Emergency Director Doug Hamilton tells us the crew was cleaning up a butadiene tank near the train derailment. He says the crew was using a blowtorch and he believes the residual chemical caught fire. The biggest unanswered question here is why the crew was using a blowtorch near a hazardous and flammable chemical. Now, the worker holding the blowtorch is one of the 3 who was critically injured. A P&L spokesperson says one of their contractors was involved in the accident. The owner of R.J. Corman Railroad Company says 2 of his workers were involved. They flew a helicopter down to the scene to check it out. They also were in the process of notifying family members of those involved in the accident. Now, this hospital is the only hospital in the region that has an adult burn unit. They also have a decontamination unit as part of the trauma unit that can be used for people if they had any chemical exposure. Right now, that is not at all the case. The 3 workers are just being treated for their burns. The company says that they are doing everything they can to help these victims in this case and, again, notify family members. Again, 3 workers are injured tonight, 2 in critical condition, 1 in serious condition. Live at University Hospital, Kelly Davis, WDRB News.
Thanks, Kelly. And more than 20 evacuees are staying at a shelter at Demczar Elementary School. Officials are setting up cots in the gym area and also plan to feed those evacuees. Some say they got a knock on the door from authorities telling them to get out this afternoon. They were told to pack a bag full of clothes for the next few days. Officials don't know how long they will have to keep the shelter open. If the Demczar Elementary location fills up, they plan to open another shelter. And obviously, this is a serious situation for this community. WDRB's Bennett Haberly, you've actually been talking to some of the people affected. How are they responding to this?
Well, about as best as they can. You know, I've spoke with 2 or 3 people this afternoon who have been directly impacted by this. They live within that 5-mile radius of the shelter in place, where they were told to stay in their homes. So one of the men I spoke to lives and works about 2 miles from where this derailment and explosion occurred. It's directly affected his life and his business.
I do about, I don't know, $2,000–3,000 a week, and since Monday I've done $65.
As you heard, it's really affected his business. He normally does thousands of dollars worth of repair work. This week, just $65. As I mentioned, his business, that auto repair shop, just about 2 miles from where this explosion and derailment occurred. He received that red alert phone call earlier this afternoon telling him he needed to stay indoors. He was there this afternoon when the explosion occurred. He did not hear it, but he saw the aftermath.
I didn't hear it, and I just started hearing the stuff going by and got on the internet and saw that there was an incident with 3 workers, and then it turned out to be 5. But other than that, I didn't know anything until I got the call that said to close the windows.
And we heard earlier from Metro Safe Director Doug Hamilton, who talked about how the mood has changed. Obviously, that is the situation now that 3 people have been seriously hurt, 2 others hurt as well. P&L, as Jennifer said, released a statement saying that the thoughts and prayers of the company are with those affected and their families. I want to keep you up to date on something else. P&L will open a claim center tomorrow for anyone affected by this. Any of the folks who want to be reimbursed, perhaps they were evacuated, they had to stay in a hotel. If you need to be reimbursed for that or any other expenses, you're told to go to the VFW post 1181 at 6500 block of Blevins Gap Road. It opens tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Another note to pass along, obviously the city of West Point has been evacuated as a result of all of this. The West Point post office also closed. People who pick up their mail or need to get their mail told to go to the Muldraw post office, a little further south.
All right. Thanks, Bennett, for the update. We'll check back with you at 7 o'clock. Coming up in just about 20 minutes, we'll hear from an environmentalist, a local environmentalist, about these two chemicals, David, and what this means for our community and how long she thinks that these evacuation shelter-in-place could last.
All right, thanks, Jennifer Bayless, reporting from the scene tonight. We're looking forward to hearing from you more later. Meanwhile, on to our other news tonight. A family wants answers after a bicyclist is hit and killed on his way to work. The clues police now have that could help them solve this tragic hit and run. And new developments that could lead to the reopening of Kentucky Kingdom.
You're watching WDRB's Local Evening News with Jennifer Bayless and David Scott.
Metro Police have now identified what they're calling a person of interest in the hit-and-run death of a bicyclist. Monday morning, 38-year-old Travis Christie was hit when biking to his early shift at Waste Management. Police say the driver who hit him didn't stop to help. They say a passing driver discovered Christie in the ditch on Grade Lane around 6 that morning. They believe the vehicle is possibly a silver Dodge pickup with damage to the passenger side and a missing side mirror. Family members are hoping someone may notice the banged-up car.
The impact caused Travis and the bike to, fly into a ditch. That they sustained a lot of damage on the passenger side of their car, to their headlight, their side view mirror.
Anyone with any information about this is asked to call the anonymous police tip line. The number there is 574-LMPD. Bond has now been set at $500,000 for a taxi cab driver charged in a fiery crash that killed 4 people near Horseshoe Casino. Yesterday in Louisville, U.S. Marshals arrested Charles Barlow, the sole survivor of the crash. Today, his bond was set in Louisville. He'll now be taken to Floyd County, where he faces 4 counts of reckless homicide. According to court documents obtained by WDRB, Barlow admitted to an officer that he drank alcohol before the crash around midnight Monday morning on State Road 111 in Floyd County. Investigators say Barlow was going faster than 80 miles an hour when he hit a Cadillac. His 3 passengers and the driver of that Cadillac all died. Police are still looking for 3 men they say shot a customer during an armed robbery at a gas station near Churchill Downs early this morning. It was just after 5 when officers say 3 black men pulled out their guns and robbed the clerk and all the customers at the Speedway on Taylor Boulevard and Central Avenue before running away. The man was taken to University Hospital but is expected to survive. Police dogs were brought to the store while detectives interviewed witnesses. Anyone with more information about the suspects is asked to call 574-LMPD. A group led by Louisville businessman Ed Hart says it will meet with state officials next week to talk about plans to reopen Kentucky Kingdom. The Kentucky Kingdom Redevelopment Company will get together with officials from the Kentucky Finance and Administration Cabinet. It's responsible for looking at the proposals and negotiating a lease with a new operator. As far as we know, Hart's group was the only one to submit a plan. The state has rejected his 2 previous proposals, but this one does not include what had been a big roadblock in the past, a $30 million loan guarantee from the state. Funeral arrangements had now been made for the 2 3-year-olds killed in that bus crash in Carroll County this week. Caroline Tuttle and Ryder Dietz died on Monday when their Head Start bus went off a road in Carrollton, flipped on its side, and crashed into a tree. 7 other children and 2 adults were on the bus. 4 kids are still hospitalized tonight. The visitation for Caroline Tuttle will be tomorrow from 4 to 6 at the Family Worship Center in Carrollton. Visitation will continue on Friday from 10 until her funeral at 2. A Ryder's visitation will be on Friday and his funeral Saturday, also in Carrollton. Good news tonight about a Louisville teen critically injured in a fall at Penn State University. The family of Paige Rocky now says she's been released from intensive care. The 19-year-old Penn State cheerleader fell 5 stories out of an apartment window on October 13th during a party. Her family says Rocky is now able to sit up, speak, wave, and smile. Rocky broke her pelvis and suffered brain trauma in the fall that police say appears to be accidental. Louisville residents who need help heating their homes this winter can start applying for that help now. The annual LIHEAP, or Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, began taking appointments today. Those need to be made in person at the Urban Government Center. Doors already closed for today, but are open again tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Those eligible get a one-time payment, typically between $80 and $200, directly to the utility provider. Applicants must meet federal poverty guidelines. They also need to bring a picture ID, their most recent heating bill, or verification from their landlord that their heating expenses are included in their rent. More than 2 million customers remain without power in New Jersey as the northeastern U.S. begins to slowly recover from what Sandy did. President Obama joined New Jersey Governor Chris Christie on a tour of storm-ravaged areas today. In Hoboken, National Guard troops spent the day helping thousands of residents trapped by floodwaters. Across the Hudson from there, New York City is also dealing with massive power outages and flooded tunnels clogging its transit. In Lower Manhattan, however, an attempt to create at least the appearance of business as usual as the New York Stock Exchange was back in operation today. Of course, the big story of the day here is the explosion and fire at the site of the train derailment near West Point, Kentucky. Hundreds of people have been ordered to evacuate. Hundreds more have been told to stay into their homes. We'll have another live report from the scene coming up.
Something we haven't really dealt with so far for this winter is, or fall is a widespread freeze. I think we're going to see one, and I'll tell you when to expect that coming up next.
The power to stay connected 24/7, 365. Twitter, Facebook, mobile, WDRB.
The good news, if you're an allergy sufferer, things are about to get a lot better.
Yeah, I can tell you I have allergies, and when that first freeze of the year occurs, normally my symptoms get a little bit better here. So this is something that we're going to be talking about here. High today came in at 53, low was 38 degrees, so we got all the way down to 38, despite the fact that we had clouds during the overnight hours, and that clearly tells us if we can clear those clouds tonight, it's going to get colder. Now, the National Weather Service obviously anticipating this. If you're wondering why Lawrence, Jackson, and Jennings County are not included, you've already seen your first freeze of the year, so basically there's no point in continuing to issue them. Widespread freeze warning for our entire area for the nighttime hours. You're going to see a freeze here now. It may not occur at the official site at Stanford Field because we know that site biases a little bit warm, but almost everybody should see it. We're at 49. Our winds are still gusting to 23 miles an hour, and our trick-or-treaters are dealing right now with a wind chill of 43 degrees. It's 40 already in LaGrange, and that's an air temperature. Currently coming in at 47 Scottsburg, 48 for you in Bedford, 47 from Hardinsburg, 46 for our friends from Shelbyville through, let's say, around Simpsonville. I have Mount Washington, Shepherdsville, and E-Town around 46 and 48 for you in the Campbellsville area. Now, you notice what's occurring to the west, and I've talked about this a number of times. Notice spreading out of Oklahoma into Kansas City and Little Rock is warmer conditions. And that really is heading in our direction. What's starting to occur is we're seeing an evolution in the jet stream. We're seeing the huge dip that still remains the Superstorm Sandy heading now through New York, but this high pressure becomes more important. Remember, under high pressure, you get sinking air. When you get sinking air, you don't get a lot of clouds and you get warmer conditions, and that's really what I'm going to be talking about, but not tonight. Now, you notice every single site except the downtown area here in the 20s. This is hard freeze. A hard freeze is defined as 4 hours below freezing and effectively ends the growing season. Now, we see some high clouds across the area tomorrow, but I think the sun will get through as we see temperatures in the 50s. Notice another hard freeze or frost outside of the city on Friday morning, and then a nice rebound during the afternoon on Friday as we see temperatures back in the mid-50s. Now, tonight, we're going to drop back to a low here, officially of 33 in the city, but there's probably going to be some readings that go as cold as 26 degrees. West winds at 5 to 10. If you don't know where the scraper is, well, it might be a good idea to find it. Tomorrow, we'll see some high clouds across the area, the high coming in at 56 degrees. West winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour, and you're extended. I'm going to go 58 on Friday. Saturday, 63. Showers, maybe a rumble of thunder late Saturday. Some scattered showers on Sunday, and Monday we'll be back at 49. But Saturday looks to be the longest of the weekend days, and don't forget to roll the clocks back an hour before you go to bed on Saturday night, Jennifer.
All right, thanks, Mark. And here at the command center, it's still windy. We're about 5 miles from the scene of that train derailment and fire explosion this afternoon here at the PRP Fire Department, the new command center. Earlier today, crews were working to clean up from Monday's train derailment when some sort of explosion happened at around 1:30 that injured 5 people, 3 of them critically. Now, this in turn sparked a shelter-in-place order for anyone in a 5-mile radius of the derailment. This is video from the scene. Now, an evacuation for those living within a 2-mile radius of the explosion, which includes the entire city of West Point, Kentucky. Students attending elementary schools were taken to Valley High School, where parents picked them up. And as of last news conference at around 5 o'clock, the fire was still burning, and they really had no idea when that was going to end. It is contained, though, but this is still a serious situation because officials say the fire is less than 10 feet from the dangerous tanker containing that hydrogen fluoride. Now, environmentalist Connie Menzel says that they expect to have to remove some of that soil, if not all of it, around the train derailment because of the butadiene.
Like I said, we're hoping that'll burn out soon, and when that is, they will check the tanks close by and see if they're still in good shape, and as long as they are, we should hopefully be able to move those zones back.
Okay.
Now, they don't, again, know how long this tanker is going to burn. We do know earlier today they had CSX officials on the scene, not a CSX train, but they were advising just to let this butadiene burn itself out and kind of go on a defensive mode. Now, we do want to tell you that P&L Railroad issued a statement saying that 3 people were injured when a flash fire occurred during recovery operations. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them and their families. And David, we're going to have much more coming up at 7 o'clock on the news at 7 on WBKI.
All right, thanks, Jennifer, from the scene out there, and we will see you in 2 minutes. Have a great night.